It's been nearly 2 years since I've upgraded from the Fujifilm x100v to the x100VI, and I think I've learned a lot from it. I've gone on countless trips and taken many photos with the two. I played back and forth with the newer film simulations like Nostalgic Negative and Reala Ace. And I even rolled back to my old favorite, the V, just to see the differences. With that said, today I'm going to compare the two, share what I've learned, and answer some common questions. This should help clear things up if you're looking to buy either cameras in 2026. Also, quick announcement. If you're looking to learn more about improving your photography, shoot more, and stress less, my latest project, Photography Systems, is now available. Links in the description down below. Let's begin. Which is the better camera? If you're looking to buy either the V or the 6, you need to know the differences. Although appearing identical, there are a few things that will affect which one you buy. And if the upgrades of the 6 aren't for you, you might not actually need it. I'm not going to get into a full breakdown of every single feature here. I already made a video like that for the V a few years ago, and I am working on a comprehensive one for the 6. But for now, let's cover the big hitters. The main upgrades added to the 6 were the 40 megapixel sensor, IBIS, and new film simulations. There were many other smaller things like video, processor, and autofocus, but those were the main ones. The 40 megapixel sensor can matter for low light and overall image quality, but I could personally live without it. I made a video on that here. I'm also currently testing out how the megapixels affects the digital zoom of this camera, but we'll cover that in a different video. The IBIS, although a great addition and will be improved upon, adds some weight to the camera and isn't perfect. More details in the video here. And the new film simulations, although they seem to just be a nice little add-on, actually turned out to be a lot of fun. I made a full review on Reala Ace up here. It also has a slightly upgraded tilt screen, allowing the screen to pull out a bit further, making it easier to see. So those were the main upgrades. Now here are a few important things that both cameras have. Built-in ND filter, leaf shutter, built-in flash, weather sealing, and an updated 23mm lens. The built-in ND filter is very useful and allows you to shoot wide open in bright daylight. It works for both photo and video. The leaf shutter is stealthy, fast, and allows you to sync to faster flash speeds. Flash makes the camera more usable at night when there are no light sources. Weather sealing with a UV filter means you can take this camera near water or in the rain and not worry too much. And both cameras share the newer 23mm lens. The 6 probably is able to bring out more of it because of its higher megapixel sensor. So for all intents and purposes, the 6 is the better camera. However, this doesn't mean that the V is a bad camera. Many photographers would quickly realize that they don't need all the bells and whistles of the 6 and would get along just fine with the V. So if you want or need any of the upgrades, the 6 is the better camera for you. If you don't care about the upgrades, the V is still a great camera to have. And if you just care about having a nice looking camera to sling around your shoulder, you're fine with either one. I honestly see the 6's release as more of a restocking of the V, because before it came out, Vs were nearly impossible to get. Supply for the camera was extremely low and sellers jacked up the price to $2,000. But with the release of the 6, a lot of people who wanted to but couldn't get their hands on the V were able to buy the camera. It probably meant buying a camera that was a bit overkill for some, but that's how it turned out. Now currently, both cameras are still hard to get and prices are pretty high, but we'll talk about how you can get either one in a bit. Does either camera live up to the hype? The x100v and x100VI have been very popular cameras in recent years, and social media buzz has inflated the demand like crazy. I'm sure you've heard many good and bad things about either camera, so you're probably wondering, are either cameras really that good? To be quite straightforward, yes. This is not a camera that was bad and then all of a sudden got famous. It was a camera that got popular for good reason, because it's fun to use, works well, and gets great images. And for many iterations before the V or the 6, the X100 series was used by many photographers for actual artistic work. So the quality, the functionality, and the practicality was always there. It just wasn't mainstream. Now, does this mean that everyone's gonna like this camera? Of course not. There are plenty of people who see and watch the hype on social media, get the camera expecting something, and become disappointed. Or there are people who hate on the camera itself because they secretly want one and can't get it for a good price. This doesn't mean that the camera is bad in any way, just that personal subjectivity plays a big role in reviews. I've obviously had both cameras for a long time and am a bit biased because they're my favorite, but I think they serve the market well. While cameras like the X Pro 3 felt like the right cameras at the wrong time, the X100v was the right camera at the right time. People wanted a high quality camera that they could use instead of their phone, that was easy enough to bring around, looked good, and resembled film without actually having to shoot film. Of course, there will always be people that gripe on this camera for its lack of lens interchangeability, as if that wasn't the point. Many photographers would view fixed lenses as a downside, especially for beginners because of the limitations and lack of flexibility. I wouldn't necessarily disagree with this, since in terms of improving your photography, the most straightforward path is to get a body, a zoom, and a prime. That way you can learn the various focal lengths and understand photography before committing to the 35 equivalent on the X100. That's why I said in a recent video that, combined with how high resale prices are, I can't safely recommend either the V or the 6 for beginners, especially if you want to learn photography. But if we're being honest, I don't think a lot of people care about that. Looking back, I think one of the reasons this camera got so popular with the masses in the first place was because of its fixed lens. Because too many different lenses, different focal lengths, different gear is all too complicated. It's enough to have to research about which camera to buy, it's even more to have to learn about a bunch of lenses on top of that. Furthermore, understanding different focal lengths takes time, especially if you're just getting started. So when everyone picked up this camera, they did so because it was easy. The lens choice was basically made for them. It's easier to just buy a camera with a fixed lens, trust that it'll take good pictures reliably, and not worry about any of that other stuff. Which makes the X100 series easier to use without having to know too much about photography in the first place, as long as you can get it for retail. As opposed to the purists, the experienced photographers, and longtime cultists who see a fixed lens as a means to double down on their favorite focal lengths. Two different reasons that lead down the same road. In this sense, the X100 series did a great job simply by existing when it needed to. Retro design, simplicity, less gear-focused photography, and a fashion accessory to many, the perfect camera. If you think about it that way, the camera deserves the hype, because it gave people what they wanted when they wanted it. What should you get in 2026? Now that we understand the differences between the two, and we know that they're not just gimmicks, they're popular for a reason, how do we actually get our hands on one? Because as I'm sure you already know, they're either sold out or super expensive. Well, I'll give you some recommendations based on what I do. If you have neither of these cameras, try to backorder the 6 at face value. At the time of writing, MSRP X100 6s are about $17.99, which are about the same price or lower than used X100Vs. Prices are higher than original in the States because of recent tariffs, but are still lower than original, and if you're patient, you'll get it eventually. If you can find a used version of either camera for cheap and in a condition you can live with, that works too. Just note that most resale prices for either camera are going to be more expensive than a back-ordered 6. That's why I recommend back-ordering instead of waiting for prices to come down, because they probably aren't going to anytime soon. I imagine there are many people who waited and wish they back-ordered sooner, because they'd have the camera by now. Now if you have the V and don't need any of the upgrades in the 6, stick with it. I think the V is still a great camera and will hold up for many years to come. If either camera is out of budget for you, look into some of the previous generations. They will lack some features here and there, but they're still solid cameras. And if you can't afford any of those, find a camera you can afford or save up until you can. Take pictures in the meantime, you've got a smartphone, and don't let your lack of a camera hold you back from learning and enjoying photography. Good luck, I hope this helped. If it did, share this with a friend who also might find this useful. If you want to improve your photography, shoot more and stress less, check out Photography Systems. If you need something more basic and foundational, go to Photography Essentials, that one's free. We also have new limited merch, photography zines, and new prints available. Thanks as always for watching, I'll see you in another video. Peace.